Okay, welcome to the mindset. This is not mindset, to the prescription walkthrough. I'm Jonno, and we already started this meeting without recording, so I'm just catching up. And we're about to introduce ourselves. So, Catherine Edwards first.
Yes. Oh, I hate introductions. Catherine Edwards. I live in Neisner, and I'm doing it, I think, with private coaching. Hey.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
The food transformation program.
Yes, food transformation program. There we go.
Great.
Ready to transform. So.
And Rashida.
My name is Rashida Abrams. I kind of live all over the place. I born in Cape Town, live in Durban, but I work in Saudi now. So with coaching in food transformation that I'm on.
I think you might actually be on the Real Meal Revolution program with coaching.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Real Meal Revolution. Yeah.
And then Petroline.
I'm Petroline. I'm from Bloemfontein. I'm a coach for Real Meal Revolution. I'm also a sugar addiction coach. And yeah, I am here to help anybody who needs help.
Great. Okay. So you will have all received your prescription. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So this yeah. Before we get cracking, what is the general understanding of it all? Catherine, are you to grips with it? Do you understand how it works?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Cool.
I believe I do. Yeah.
And Rashida, do you understand how it works?
I got the basic idea, but I just kind of keep reading over and over just to make sure that, I'm going in the right direction. Just keep reading all the stuff that you send me every couple of days to make sure that I'm on the right track.
All right.
So.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to share my screen.
It's difficult out here because there's nobody that does it with. There are some girls that are doing banting, but I think they just kind of just do the diet with no other thing.
Freestyle.
So. Yeah. But actually they lost a lot of weight. So that's what really pushed me to join here.
That's great. So when you say a lot of girls in Saudi doing banting, is keto like a movement over there? Or is it just your inner circle of expats, South Africans?
Actually, no, there are a couple of the other Saudi girls that are also doing the banting, and then they do the keto part of it as well. There's quite a few of them, and they were actually asking me about it, so that's how they got onto the banting thing, and I keep trying to push them to join the Real Meal Revolution and
that's
trying
amazing.
to get in there.
So did you take, yeah, I mean, I'm just keeping it casual because it's such a small group today, but did you take some banting resources over there with you, like a copy of the book or just the website?
I took your website and I took the green and the orange and the red list and I gave to them and they were really surprised and they were quite happy with it because they're like, oh, this is what you should be eating and this is great. And I kind of took your website and I showed them what it was about. And I think some of them are quite interested in that. So maybe you'll get some Saudi girls coming onto the site.
That's amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you. Yeah, that's great. That's the first I've ever heard of Saudi. We've got a big community in the UAE, but not Saudi. It's fascinating. Awesome. Cool. I will press along. So let me just share my screen. Let me know when you can see my screen.
Can see it.
Okay. Lekker. All right. So these are the lists. We've gone through many iterations of the lists, which many people have had, opinions on. The lists are always designed with a certain method of delivery in mind. So we had Banting 2.0 lists, which were supposed to work in conjunction with a specific Banting 2.0 framework, where we split the diet up into phases so that you could go it alone and monitor your own journey. The original Real Meal Revolution lists, there were 3. It was green, orange, and red, which was super simple. But the problem with the red list was that it excluded foods that aren't necessarily bad for you. They're just super high in carbs, which can be bad for you if you are insulin resistant. But for instance, dates, dried fruit, prunes, even rice, they're not unhealthy as much as they are insulin anemic. So if you're not insulin resistant, or you have basically if you're not insulin resistant and you are like at your ideal or awesome weight, rice is not going to have the same impact on you that, say, like bread or highly processed gluten containing food might. So we still have them as a red list, but it's like the light red list, because they're the preferred sort of like cheat options to the really red list, which is like super no foods that need to be watched out for. So that's the main difference. And then the gray list is like this list of things that we didn't want to give an absolute yes or no to, but where we encourage people to have their own develop their own sort of rules or philosophies around there. So the items are obviously artificial sweeteners. Some people cannot survive without artificial sweeteners. There's a lot of science that says artificial sweeteners, or some of them, can cause cancer, but apparently most of that research was funded by the sugar industry. So it's, there's a whole lot of controversy around that. And then there are natural sweeteners. Sorry, just hang on a second. Okay, no, sorry, I just saw something got deleted from my Google Drive and I was having a minor panic. Okay. I saw like my whole life disappear. Okay. No, literally, it's like documents. So I just lost my train of thought. Okay. Artificial sweeteners have shown with some people who are incredibly insulin resistant to actually, even though it doesn't push their blood sugar up, it pushes their insulin up, and your insulin is your fat storing hormone. So that means whatever blood sugar is sitting around in your blood gets pumped into your fat cells. So that's not good. But, if it's a means to an end, then that's totally cool. So if you're trying to cut sugar out and you're like, cool, I'm going to have xylitol for a month to just like wean myself off, then that's fine. But in general, sweetness drives appetite. But as you can see, it's like a complex issue, so it's unique to each person. That's why we leave it on the gray list. Then with drinks, the gray drinks for us are alcoholic beverages. Alcohol, they are lower carb and higher carb alcohols. But even then, alcohol obviously clouds judgment. It is caloric in that alcohol does contain calories. And it's also like in a ketogenic diet, the cheerleader, or at least the team captain of this sort of ketosis, is the liver. So what I say is, every time you drink alcohol, you're punching the captain in the face. And a lot of clients had actually sent like hilarious texts saying, yes, I moored the captain this weekend, but so it's just to be aware that like whatever you do with alcohol will impact your journey. And that's why it's on the gray list, up to you. Protein shakes and supplements are in this gray area for us. I believe there are supplements that are good for you. We even prescribe magnesium and bone broth as a supplement in the first few weeks, which you will all have on your prescription. But there are a lot of supplements out there that are controversial, not good, not bad. So supplements are like this gray area where we say you got to do your own investigation, make your own decisions. And protein shakes are there. Protein shakes also fill a category of food supplements, and meal replacements. Some of them are not bad, but they're not real foods. So there's like this gray area between us being the real meal revolution, and then obviously like having something that's not actually bad for your health in any way. So they're gray there. Like I have a protein shake probably like once a week or once every 2 weeks. But is it like a healthy thing to recommend when we're trying to rebuild your relationship with food? Probably not. If you're an athlete and you want to have a protein shake, is it a bad thing? Probably not. But that's why it's gray, because it doesn't fit on any like yes or no category. All right. Petroline, did you want to add anything to that? Because I know you're an athlete.
No, not really. I normally advise my clients that you would want to get what you want and need from real food. But yeah, it's really hard for them and they have no other means. Then they can try it. But yeah, I'm all for real food. Get what you need from real food.
Yeah. Amen. Okay. And okay, that's great. So the general rule of the lists is try hang left. Hang left, as far left as you can go in all instances. So there are instances where you feel tempted to break compliance. We don't like to use the word cheat because cheat has like a morality attached to it. It's like you're being bad, and that's not good. So breaking compliance would be like if you had to have a pizza instead of broccoli and grilled chicken. It's better to go for the light red list if you are going to cheat. It's gluten-free. It'll make you less bloated, unlikely to get like a skin flare-up. But ultimately, like if you were cheating on the right-hand side of the orange list, that would be much better than light red. And if you were cheating on like the left-hand side of the orange list, that would be even better. But basically, for a good keto experience, you want to be staying green all the way. Okay, that's my little intro. Are there any questions about the list?
Nope.
Just one, I'm lactose intolerant, so it's really difficult to get milk that is not soya out here.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you get the almond milk, sometimes you get coconut milk, not all the time. But a lot of the time it's just soya milk here. And I did read that soya milk was really not something you guys recommend.
Yeah, in general, what you'll find, Rashida, is we don't actually recommend substitutes that much at all. It's what we want you to do is to actually change the way that you eat rather than just replacing one food with another. So like, for instance, the baked, like the banting breads, for instance, is something that we would just say, like, don't do it. Everyone says, oh, the banting breads are so expensive. Yeah, because we're not supposed to eat bread. Like bread is a highly processed grass, if you think about it. So the idea would be to actually cut those foods out. My piece on dairy is that dairy is not a normal thing for human beings to eat. It's a very strange concept that we would take the milk from another animal who's just had a child and then use it to create products that we then eat and rely on. We're the only animals on earth that do it. And sure, there are nutrients in it, but those nutrients you can get from other foods. So I would encourage you to try and go without if you can. And then soy milk, if it's like a means to an end, the same with sweeteners. If you have soy milk in your tea for like 6 months or a year, that's fine. There's some research that suggests, continuously hammering your body with soy for like 20 years is associated with some cancers, but there's no randomized controlled trial that says you're 90% likely to get cancer if you eat soya. Petroline, do you have anything to add to that?
No.
Okay. All right. Does that answer your question, Rashida?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, cool. Right. On to the prescription. So this document is basically a very nicely designed version of what a dietitian would give you after a consultation anyway. This is Bridget. She's our dietitian. She'll be in the Q&A session immediately after this at 11 o'clock if you have any questions for her. So, we introduce the diet, and then the next session you can go and ask the dietitian all the questions, but we do all the heavy lifting and teaching you how it works. So this is purely clinical, the anthropometric assessment. The weight classification categories are often quite jarring to the ears or eyes when you read them, like what medicine classifies as overweight and obese, and class 1 and class 2 obese is usually a much lower weight or BMI than what we as society consider obese. So, I've been in my weight category because I'm like big boned and kind of muscular without trying to sound like I'm rating. I'm overweight. I mean, like, I don't know how else to say it. So I'm overweight, and if I weighed like an extra 10 kilos, I'd be classified as obese. So just saying that it's purely clinical. That, you know, don't take it personally. And then on the prescription front, there are two different methods that we deliver the prescription in. We are actually moving away from one of them in due course, but we've given you two options for now. So we want you to choose one and stick to one, because if you try and do both, it gets very confusing. And I'll explain why. So what Bridget said here is that she's used so on this example, she's used 1,300 calories as like a benchmark for what this person should be eating. And then breaking down those calories into grams, that 1,300 calories would be broken down into 102 grams of protein, 50 grams of carbohydrates, and 77 grams of fat. And that is all like, so 102 grams of protein is of net protein, not 102 grams of like cooked chicken. It's 102 grams of the protein that you would find in the chicken. So it may well be like 400 or 300 grams of cooked chicken. Same with carbohydrates. That's 50 grams of carbohydrates that you find in the food, and 77 grams of fat that you find in the food. Otherwise, you would be eating like 230 grams of food in a day, and that would be very difficult. Catherine's like, yes, that would be difficult. Yeah. So how you would stick to this? Okay, so what you shouldn't look at is the calories. Don't look at the calories. We're deleting that field. We don't want you to count calories at all, ever. And if you follow this using a meal tracker, 102, 77, 50, or whatever your ratio is, it'll be almost impossible for you to get the same amount of calories to match those macros. They're like, it's just very difficult. It would also be very difficult to get that amount of calories, this amount of grams, and have all the percentages line up. Just because each food has got different volumes of different macros in it, and it's very complicated. So what you actually need to watch is just the grams, only the grams. Okay. Then the other option that we have is so if you were following grams, you would use a meal plan from the online program, or you would use the meal tracker, which I'll share with you. Please hold. Meal tracker and meal plans. So on the meal tracker, anytime you track, let's see when it was, anytime you track, you can add in, look, I always add in eggs, bacon, eggs. As soon as you track a meal, it'll tell you how many grams of carbs you've had. So here already I can see I've got 30 grams of carbs. So according to my prescription, which is here, I've basically only got 20 grams of carbs left. So it's a very accurate way of keeping track. It's just that you have to keep track. So it becomes quite an becomes admin intensive. The other way you could do it is to go through some meal plans. All the keto meal plans are underneath the category called transformation. And if you forget that, you can just go into the, okay. So keto is another word for transformation. But on the meal plans, it actually says here, strict keto. So you can go and like look at a few of the strict keto meal plans. And just by opening them up, you can see what the sort of gram or macro count is per day. And you can also ask your coach for help on this. But if you see like Monday's 23 grams of carbs, 112 grams of protein, and 58 grams of fat, which according to this prescription is quite close. What are we looking at? 23. So that's half the carbs, which means you could probably have like an extra carb serving. 50 grams, 102 grams of protein. We're looking at 112. So that's pretty close. And then 77 grams of fat versus 58 grams of fat. So this meal plan aligns quite closely with with this prescription. So there's a dog barking outside. Okay. So if you want to follow the meal plan, obviously it makes life very easy. You just click follow and go yes, and then it adds it to your dashboard. I would have explained this in the walkthrough. Come on, there we go. A week of winning. Okay, and then instead of tracking your meals on the meal tracker, you can just check what you've eaten, and it posts it to the meal tracker already. And this means that the coach can then see what you've eaten, which is very helpful. Okay. So those are the two. That's the one way you can follow the grams. Okay. The other way to follow this prescription is kind of if you want to go off the technology, and that's to use these serves. So I'm just going to change the view so you can see it more closely, and I'll minimize. Let's get up nice and close. Zoom. That's what I'm trying to do here. Just trying to get it set up so that you can see everything I'm trying to show you here. Okay. Alrighty, so here, if you see next to each of these items under like fruit and vegetables, we've got 1 serve equals 1 cup raw, half a cup cooked. Next to nuts, we've got 1 serve equals 1 tablespoon. Fertilizers, 1 serve equals see below. So 1 serve of all homemade broth equals 1 cup. 1 serve of coconut yogurt equals half a cup. 1 serve of coconut kefir equals half a cup. 1 serve of, where's protein? Protein equals 30 grams of all cooked meat, 30 grams of naturally cured meat, 30 grams of offal. 1 protein serve equals 1 unit of egg. So what this prescription is telling you is that every day your allowance is up to 11 serves of protein. So that means you can come to this list and say, cool, I've got 11 of these a day. So I can have 3 eggs, 3 cheese serves, which is like 90 grams of cheese. And then I can have like 4 more serves of protein, which could be like 120 grams of cooked steak. And then that's your protein serves for the day. And then 4 serves of vegetable means I could have 1 cup of raw vegetables or 4 cups of raw vegetables and or 2 cups of cooked vegetables. Does that make sense? Okay. What else it means, and just so you know, this we actually have to add a note on here, but all green leafy vegetables, they are bonus serves. So they don't count in the serves category. So if you're having like extra lettuce, extra spinach, any of that, you don't add it to your serves. That's like free food, as it were. Okay, then your starchy veg. Remember earlier I said if the meal plan says like 23 grams of carbs and your total target is 50 for the day, it means that you could probably have like an extra starch. That's great. That means you can come here and go for like a starchy veg or a fruit. And that means you can have like 1 apricot, or you can have 4 apricots, or 1 apple, or 12 cherries, or 17 grapes. Only 17 grapes, not 18 and not 20. Okay. You could have a cup of cooked pumpkin. So that's how you then like fill it up. So the idea is that you just like building it yourself, but without using like serious measurement techniques in the scale. It's much better to just use your eyes. If you know what a cup is, you just put the cup of the food on the plate. Don't stress too much. Don't agonize over like the micro measurements. Then the other important thing here is dairy. Milk itself, like, okay, you heard what I said about milk earlier anyway, but milk itself is insulinemic. So milk has a sugar in it called lactose. Lactose has like it is a sugar and it registers as a carb. So if you look at milk, it'll say like carb content, but I don't know how to explain it. Like it has a a disproportionate impact on your insulin and blood sugar compared to other carbs. So for instance, like if the impact of a teaspoon of normal sugar was a 6 out of 10, the impact of a teaspoon of lactose would be a 9 out of 10 on your like fat accumulation. So that's so we limit your dairy to a quarter of a cup a day, but then you can have an additional serve of dairy. And here are the additional serves over here. Okay, healthy fats. All your fats are down here on the list, and you can have four to six of those. Something else that's worth mentioning is that your proteins include fats. So how Bridget's done it is she said, okay, well, if you're eating this way, you're going to have meat with the fat on, chicken with the skin, egg with the yolk. So your all of the proteins are considered to already have a fat. So even though you're having 4 to 6 proteins, you're actually having 15 to 17 fats. I mean, even though you're having 4 to 6 fats, you're actually having 15 to 17 fats. Does that make sense? Okay. So don't pull the skin off your chicken breast, because then it will be less delicious. And then your elemental magnesium. Bridget's not allowed to endorse specific brands, but in secret, she's told me she uses Solal. So feel free to use Solal, or I've got stuff called Metagenics at home, and apparently but it has to be magnesium glycinate, and you have to be getting 400 milligrams of elemental magnesium glycinate, and that's going to stop like the cramping and a few of the other side effects like constipation if you are going into ketosis, because you flush a whole lot of water out of your system, and the magnesium helps top up for various processes that I don't understand. Okay, and then finally, bone broth. The bone broth serves numerous functions. It's a good snack, but the most important thing is that it contains a whole lot of minerals and nutrients that you need, which is related to what you flush out when you lose all the water weight. And then that extra half teaspoon of salt isn't for flavoring, although it does help the flavor. It's there to replace sodium that you lose when you flush a whole lot of your water weight. And again, it contributes to reducing the impact of side effects when your body goes into ketosis. Are there any questions?
One question.
Go for it.
With the whole prescription and stuff, I don't really eat a lot of dairy. Can I just kind of leave that if I don't want it? Or
Yes.
do I have to fill the space with something else?
No, that's fine. You can just last it.
Okay, cool.
And it's better if you don't eat dairy.
Yeah, okay.
Petroline,
Awesome.
did you want to add to anything there? Because I often miss things out.
No, maybe just I had some the other day so that folks know that the 30 grams on, but I think you sort of alluded it, the 30 grams on the food lists is not the grams of protein, it's the actual gram of the food that's going to weigh on the scale.
Yes. Yeah, good point. Well clarified. Cool. Well, so yeah, and if there are no questions, then that's that. If you are super clear on what to do next, then I highly recommend getting cracking. So if you want to start small and use a meal plan, A Winning Week by Jonno is a low calorie, low carb meal plan. When I say low calorie, I think it's like under 1,500 calories a day, which is kind of where most people on the program sit. There's also a bit of fasting in there. I don't eat breakfast. So that meal plan is based on like what I eat. So that's why I chose it. But you use a meal plan, print the shopping list, and get cracking. And that'll at least make your first week easier. And then from there, I think start to practice using your prescription more and more. The prescription is like the point you want to get to, and the point that is going to become your new normal, because that's what your body needs. But to expect to get there in the first week, it's possible, but it doesn't need to be difficult. You should do it at a pace that is comfortable for you. But obviously we want you to get the results as fast as possible. Petroline, anything else you want to add to the adaptation phase?
No, I'm good.
All right,
Nothing.
cool. Rashida,
No, I'm fine. Thank you.
are you ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, I am.
Cool. Catherine?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I've got some shopping lists to make.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
cool. Well,
Okay.
remember,
Just one thing.
yeah,
Sometimes what you put on the list is really difficult to find here.
mm-hmm.
So, because they import a lot of stuff, but they import a lot of stuff from the States.
Yeah.
So it's all like beef food and
Yeah.
like really difficult to get from what we know at home.
Yes. Oh, so what to do about that? Yeah, so the foods in general, the foods are not really, it's not like a chemical thing where if you move or swap a food from the meal plan, it's going to like impact your weight. You know, if it's a cooked protein and it's moving from like lamb to goat or beef to, I don't know, like in America, they eat a lot of like yak, or they even eat bear, which is bizarre, but
Wow.
yeah, I know.
Right.
Yeah, so that's cool. You can swap stuff out. I know that we've got bacon in a lot of recipes. If you don't eat bacon, you can swap it out with smoked chicken. If there's like a vegetable that you're not sure of, just ask your coach, and they should be able to recommend one that you can swap it out with. So those are all, very easy problems to overcome. You just stay in communication and we'll help you out. Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. Alrighty. Okay.
Awesome.
So have a lovely weekend, everyone. Happy planning, and yeah, we look forward to seeing your results in the first WHAM, or WHAM, previously known as WHAM. Now it's Weigh In Wednesday. So we'll be watching those graphs closely.
Awesome.
Alrighty. Cool. Have a good weekend. Thanks for joining.
Bye-bye.
Alrighty.
You too.
Bye.